Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness, or if this is your first time, welcome. We are really happy to have you. Reality Realness is all about reality TV and hopefully, if I know any, the gossip that goes along with it. So I wanted to try something new, a new show that I haven't really talked about before. So this is going to be a little bit of a, let's see how it goes here. We're talking about Below Deck. Now, I just got introduced to Below Deck within the last maybe maximum couple years, but it also seems like it's just been quarantine, but like I just don't have a sense of time anymore. I definitely watched the last 2 seasons in real time, but I don't know how they kind of spread them out. The last 2 seasons of Below Deck Mediterranean. So there's 2 kind of segments. One is with Captain Sandy. That's usually Below Deck Mediterranean. And then there's Captain Lee on Below Deck OG, regular. And so they're a little bit different. They usually have different crews, but they're both equally as good. So today we're going to talk about Below Deck Season 8, Episode 1. We're a little bit behind. I believe now they just aired Episode 2 last night, but I decided just yesterday that, hey, this could be a show that people might want to talk about. So definitely this is your time. I'm here by myself. So if you want to chat with me in the comments, I am more than willing to talk to you guys and have a bit of a discussion. So right in the beginning, we get Captain Lee doing his voiceover of the whole episode. It talks about going home again because, you know, his home is on the seas. And he talks about it's going to be a new crew, a new chief stew, a new chef. It's all new. And I get worrisome about this because I have not worked on like luxury yachts where people were staying overnight, but I've definitely worked. It was kind of like catering, but it was like catering for one specific super yacht. And would just maybe sail around the harbor, but we did have a lot of, you know, celebrity guests that came. Actually, funny enough, ooh, who's that? I don't know who this is. Just says Facebook user over here. If you're looking through Facebook, I don't get to see for whatever reason unless you give permission to StreamYard to post your name. So I don't know who this is, but yes, this is the first time I've been talking about Below Deck Med. So whoever this is, did you watch Episode 1 and want to pop on with me and talk about it? Da 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 da. So what was I saying? I totally forgot. I got so excited and sidetracked there, Facebook user. My claim to fame being on a super yacht is that am I allowed to say it? We had to have our phones confiscated, and we weren't allowed to talk about who was going to be on this boat. We'll just say that the person that had gotten married and was having his after party on the boat was in The Hangover. And actually John Hamm was there. He was still with Jennifer. And I remember I was giving them lots of red wine, I do remember, and they were dancing on the dance floor. That's all I'll say, just in case like I'll get in trouble, because we did have to have everything confiscated and sign like NDAs and stuff like that. So I don't know if it's still valid. This was like 6 years ago, maybe even more. Hi, Erdem, and nice to meet you. Do you watch Below Deck Med and you want to have some words of wisdom over here? I actually was listening to it was a YouTube video, and it was talking about how much they make. And so we see on the show when they get their tip meeting. And with the tip meeting, it's usually, we'll say, I don't know, $1,500 US is about, I'd say, an average of what they receive per person. But apparently on top of that, so regular stews get like, I think it's like $50,000 per season. And then Captain Lee gets between, I think, $100,000 and $200,000 per boating season. And then I think the bosun gets like $75,000 a season. On top of it, then they also get their crew thing. And apparently they can order what they want through, well, this is part of Below Deck, the actual show. So they wanted expensive face creams and such. Apparently Bravo or the production actually provides them with whatever they need. So they don't even need to spend their money on like toiletries. They get to get the crew or the production to pay for that. So it's pretty lucrative. You can definitely live for a year off of what you make during one season of boating or yachting. So I was like, why didn't I ever get into yachting? Like I did like catering. I've been on boats before doing catering type stuff. So it's pretty similar. I just would have to learn how to / I hate making beds. So I wouldn't really want to do that job, but I do all the service parts. Anyway, so we're getting to this first episode. We're meeting all these new people. So we have the bosun, who's Eddie. So he hasn't been working on boats for about 5 years, he's saying. He's from Baltimore. And I haven't seen his episode or his seasons before. So I think I'm going to go back and watch his seasons because I seem to like him so far, but he's quite strict, it seems. I want to know a little bit more of his history to see if like he's a bit of a loose cannon or if he drinks too much or if he's had any relationships with people on the boat. So I'm curious to know more about Eddie. And if you guys in the chat know anything about Eddie, please let me know. We also have the new Chief Stew. So this is Francesca, and she's from Sydney. And I don't know if I'm just like a creature of habit, but I just love Kate Chastain. She's, you know, her and Captain Lee, I believe they're best friends in real life. I'm assuming that they met on this show for the last, I think, 5 years. They've been working together. And, you know, they even show clips of their closeness. I think there was like they had to dress up. He had to dress up as some sort of chief of some sort with like a grass skirt or whatever. And he was like, "I'm not wearing a costume." And the next clip, you see him wearing this costume that Kate got for him. You could just see that they had a really good friendship. And if you saw last season's interview with Andy Cohen, he was talking. They talked about how much Captain Lee loves Kate and like lets Kate kind of get away with anything. And so I do miss that. I don't know if Francesca has a personality to be able to get along with Captain Lee. Not that I don't think this season anyways, but maybe in the seasons to come. But I do feel as though she has really, really big shoes to fill. And including with the audience as well. I mean, I think she's beautiful. It seems like she knows what she's doing so far. But I just don't know about her vibe with Captain Sandy. I mean, Captain Lee, sorry. So we also have Rachel. So we have a female chef this season. This is great. And I kind of labeled her as a party chef. You see a lot of clips of her like drinking and kind of having a lot of fun. So I'm excited to see the food that she makes and to see her when they have a day off. And that's another thing too, with them making actual money for the season, it makes sense why they would go and have these lavish dinners and whatnot. Like if you're trying to save money and you're only making like $1,500 for 4 days or whatever, not only it's a significant amount of money, a nice tip for the whole season, but it makes sense why they're so lavish because they're not even dipping into their actual salary. So yeah, I'd probably be balling up in there in Antigua this season. I guess like I don't know where they're actually going to be touring around to, or if it's just kind of going around Antigua. But funny enough, my grandfather actually lives in Antigua. We have a house there, and so a couple years ago, we went to visit as a family, and so we went to like 5 of the 365 beaches. But really, there is so many beaches, and they're all gorgeous, and like they're just blue as far as you can see. Like they're really, really gorgeous beaches, and the weather is like really nice. So yeah, I definitely have given a thumbs up to Antigua, and I was like, hey, maybe I can, you know, party it up with the Below Deck people in Antigua because I'll go and visit my grandfather. Something to think about. So then we have James. So James is going to be a new deckhand. He is from the UK or England, and he's very flirty. He's cute, but I think that because he has an accent, it makes him a little bit cuter. Because he's not like that hot, but like he has a flirty personality and he has a British accent. So I'm into it. We have Elizabeth, who is a stew as well. And what I liked about Elizabeth is she's very spiritual. So it kind of made me feel at home when she talked about chakras and yoga and just like, you know, I think she even talked about crystal healing and energy. And I kind of like that kind of stuff. And so I'm interested to see how that plays out, especially since they talk about it in the episode. So I'm hoping that it will be something that comes up again. I want to hear more about her spiritual beliefs, etc., etc. Then we have Avery. So he's a deckhand. He's a jack of all trades. He kind of says that he's able to do anything. I'm like, all right, Avery. I don't remember what he looks like right now, unfortunately. And then we have Izzy. So Izzy is a stew. She definitely loves to give too much information that she says. She's quite vulgar. I believe she's from Australia as well, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think she's from Australia. And then we have Shane. Shane. He is the environmentalist. I don't know how well he's going to do. We'll probably get into it a little bit more, but it just seems that he is not experienced enough to be able to handle Captain Lee and seemingly so Eddie as well. It seems like they have a high bar, and I just don't know if his kind of lackadaisical attitude is going to fly with either of them. So I don't know. Chef Lee doesn't, he even says they have a kind of a meeting at one point, and Chef Lee's like, I'm not afraid of firing anybody. And so these people should be on their toes for sure. So they timestamp it. So I guess the time, like what's been going on in the world is going to be very much affecting this season, because they timestamped it February 11th, 2020. And so that's about a month before the world officially shuts down. And it cuts right to Captain Lee making a phone, or Captain Lee in the hospital. Eddie's was looking for him. He gets to the boat looking for Captain Lee. Just was kind of surprised that he wasn't there to greet him and kind of give him a tour of this boat, and calls him, and Captain Lee is in the hospital. And so right off the bat, it's kind of like, it seems a little bit ominous. You know, the fact that like it's not normal, and we know what's been going on in the world. And so even I'm sure that they're presenting this to us because they're telling a story here, but you know, the fact that they're worried that they might not be able to go on this season, I think is really interesting, that it was kind of foreshadowing what will most likely be happening in about a month or 4 or 5 episodes time. So Captain Lee apparently fell in the shower, and he hurt his ribs. So he was going to go get some x-rays. And he just told for Eddie to just kind of go around and familiarize himself, and then I guess introduce anybody that shows up on the boat. So he may need surgery, he said if he needed surgery, then he was probably not going to be able to be the captain. So that is a pretty scary thought. So James, the flirty deckhand, is already taking a liking to Miss Francesca. So that's the chief stew. Shane, as I mentioned, is new to yachting. Eek. And Izzy said that she can work and do anything, but we also learned that that is not the case. So Eddie, with good reason, is quite nervous about Shane, just because he doesn't have any experience. He doesn't know how to just go and do things without being told. And I think that that's really important, to have that instinct when working on a yacht. I've worked a lot in restaurants and bars and whatnot. And so you can throw me in any restaurant or bar, and I would be able to serve a table, and I would be able to bartend. Like, I have those skills. And so I feel as though Shane not having any of the skills, it seems to just like know that when this happens, you have to do this, and know like the ABCs, steps of service or whatnot. It's just going to be, I think, problematic for Eddie to be able to manage him, and then for him to really be able to work cohesively as a team, because he just doesn't even know what his role is going to be. So I don't know how these people get these jobs, because like I would love to be a stew on these mega yachts. I'd love to be on Below Deck Med. Like, I'll be the chief stew. So I'm actually going to look into it to see how to get that kind of job, because I feel like I'd do a good job at it, and you wouldn't have to teach me everything, maybe the rules of yachting, but if it's just the interior stuff, I think I can get that covered. I know how to make a coffee or an espresso, as Izzy doesn't seem to know how to do, but we will get a little bit further into that. One thing that Eddie said to Shane that I thought was a really important and a good way for him to establish his authority was telling Shane that he doesn't mind teaching, but if he doesn't know how to do something, don't pretend that he does know how to do it. And I think that's really important because we're kind of dealing with people's lives in this kind of scenario. You're on a ship and anything can happen. You're out in the water. Like, you don't want people to get hurt because it's a lot harder to get to land or get to, you know, an ambulance or whatnot. So safety is a primary importance. And so doing something wrong could be very dangerous. And so I'm happy that he really laid down the law there. And I hope that Shane took it seriously, but it doesn't really seem like he does that much. Like, he doesn't take things seriously. Not really. So they have some clips just to show people getting settled into the boat, kind of everybody getting informed that Captain Lee's not there yet. You see that Izzy's around. I don't know if it was a preview or if it was that particular episode, but they're kind of getting everything in order. Everything's kind of disarrayed. And Izzy just gets sprayed in the face by the bidet. I was kind of like, it's kind of gross, but hopefully it's clean water. Everybody's always like, oh, the water in the toilets are so much cleaner. It's like, are they really though? Or is the toilet bowl actually cleaner than your faucet? I don't know. And boat water, definitely don't know. I don't think I'd want to have, well, I guess in the shower it's one thing, but bidet water in my face, not so much. I wrote down, I would hate to make the beds. I've already told you that. I would just hate that because, like, I like the way a really nice, like, crisply made bed looks. I think it looks really amazing. But I hate, like, putting it underneath, like, in between the mattress and the box spring or whatever. Like, that part, tucking everything in, it just bothers me. And I usually have decently long nails. And so I find that, like, my nails get in the way. Just saying. So Rachel, the chef, she kind of comes in, she's in disarray as well, and mentions to, I believe it was to Francesca, that her purse was stolen right before she came on the boat. And I, like, that really sucks. I've definitely had my purse almost stolen once. So I was in Montreal and I was at this bar type thing, and I was with a bunch of friends, and I had my purse. And I was standing with, like, my back against, like, a banquette. So it's just like the banquette was, like, going that way. And so I just was, like, leaning up against it. And I had my purse on the bench part behind me. And these people that looked out of place for where we were kind of in a fancy hotel lobby bar. And these people didn't look like they would be going to a hotel fancy lobby bar. Or if they did, they weren't wearing the right attire or dressed the part that evening. And so they, instead of walking in front of me where there's tons of room, they decided to kind of bump me forward away from my purse and the banquette and walk behind me. And so I was like, that's so weird. Like, why would they do that? And I turn around, and I look, my purse is gone. So I ran, and I go and I grab the back of one of their jacket necks, and I pulled them to the ground. And I took my bag, and I swear, when these things happen, like, nobody noticed at all what was going on. Like, the bouncers weren't there. The people were just still, like, dancing and talking. I was like, guys, help me. Hello. And, like, they were able to get up and get out of there without anybody even detecting that it happened. It was quite wild. I felt like I was by myself and, like, nobody could hear me. But it was, like, all slow-mo, like, grab them, pull, and get my adrenaline was going. Like, I was like, I had to go home after that. I was too, like, wired. It was really intense. So that is my purse stealing experience. And it doesn't feel good. I've also had my cell phone stolen from me once in Vancouver as well, mind you, while I was at work. It was actually another weird story. So they always distract you, and it's so funny. But I was bartending by myself on New Year's Eve day. And it wasn't going to be busy at all. There was, like, one regular customer who was there, and this two guys that I've never seen there before. And so in order to get either change a keg or whatever, I'd have to leave the little bar area. And so I had my phone charging because it's New Year's Eve, and I wanted to make sure that I had a full charge phone to go out for the evening. And so I went to go, I think, change a Canadian keg, and I came back, and all I could see is the guy like shoving my cell phone up his sleeve. And like, I'm screaming at him, I'm like, give me my phone back. And he's like, not even flinching. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm a small girl. This is like some tall, big guy that I'm like, it's kind of sketchy in my opinion looking. I was like, he just wouldn't do anything. So I called the cops. They didn't do anything. I never got my phone. So I was like messaging people from like, as emailing people like, what are we doing tonight, guys? And maybe Facebook, but that's my 2 stories about theft. I probably have one more, but I can't think of it right now. So I feel for her. Like, it's definitely, it's rattling, having to get all your cards and all that stuff back. It's just such a pain. And there's this weird violation that I find that goes on when you have your property stolen or broken into and stuff like that. It's kind of like, I don't know, just, it's very unnerving. And you just feel icky. And so I can understand like how she probably still has that icky feeling, especially since she had some nice pieces. I think she had a Louis Vuitton wallet or item within her purse. And so I think it's one of the worst experiences without anything physically damaging happening. Like, I don't like the feeling of someone stealing from me. It feels awful. But Rachel does say she's a super perfectionist, so I'm interested to see how she's able to navigate with her perfectionism with the demands of these guests. Because the guests, you might have a way that you do everything, but these guests just turn everything upside down because it's on their schedule, and you have to just like do what they want, whatever they want. So I think it would be very challenging for a chef that's a perfectionist to be able to be flexible. But she was flexible enough in the sense that she didn't feel that she had enough time to organize the entire pantry or the galley. And so maybe she is a little less rigid. Now, I'm wondering, though, if she is a Virgo, because Virgos tend to be perfectionist signs. They do like the body, food, the body, day-to-day activities. They can be OCD about things. So I'm wondering if that is because she's a Virgo and one of the traits of a Virgo woman. Eddie so calls Captain Lee, and there was no answer. And so we're kind of like realizing that I think that the show is trying to make us think that maybe he's not coming, but you know that he's coming because they wouldn't have probably aired the episode this way, like as a full episode or a full season, even if he wasn't coming. So you kind of knew that even though they're kind of like, ooh, what's going on with Captain Lee? You kind of have an idea that he's going to be coming back, but he just doesn't answer. So the provisions arrive, and I didn't actually know that they provided them with so many condoms on these super yachts, but I guess, you want safety, right? It's a safety first. So they had many different sizes and ranges of condoms for the nightstands of all these, the guest suites. But that was something I learned that was new. So Lee finally does get back. We see him kind of walking up to the boat. He's such a cute, like, curmudgeon-y old man. Like, I think I'd be good friends with him because he's kind of mad, but like he also is a bit of a jokester. And so I really like Captain Lee. I like both the captains. Captain Lee and Captain Sandy are both good. I was a little bit of annoyed with Captain Sandy with how she treated Hannah a little bit, but for the most part, I'm Team Sandy, Team Lee. I'm usually on their side. So, what? Oh, right. And this is kind of where like he gets to finally meet Francesca, and he talks about like, okay, so like, how do you take your coffee? Like simple things like that Kate already knows that he has to explain to this new person. It's like, maybe he likes his cereal at 65 degrees or whatever. It's kind of hot, but whatever it is, all these things that Kate has learned from working with him for so long, he kind of has to teach this to Francesca, and I don't think that he likes necessarily playing that role. And so I think that she's going to have a real uphill battle, but she definitely shows confidence. So I like that about her so far. Lee calls a meeting with everybody, and this is basically where he says, you will not embarrass the boat and you will not embarrass yourselves. And we have clips of last season when the bosun was super angry with Kate and punches the window inside the van. And it was, in my opinion, it was a little bit more of a toxic environment. I felt it was a lot of negative male ego that was kind of overpowering a lot of things. And I love the show. The season was great, I thought, but I didn't like some of the people on there. I didn't think that they were, in my opinion, great representatives of humankind all the time. So hopefully that they've kind of looked back and seen how they were portrayed, and which is, a portrayal of them to a certain extent. And so hopefully they've grown, maybe got some healing, maybe got some counseling. And so hopefully they've changed. But it did do this little flashback, and it reminded me of, I did like the season a lot. A lot was going on. You have the relationship with Simone. I think she's like the first and only Black stew that has been on the show so far. So maybe I should apply. I want to go on this show. Just shake it up. We barely have anybody that's from Canada. I think the only Canadian that I've heard about being on the show was on below deck sailing yachts. I think the chef, if I'm not mistaken, was Canadian, but don't quote me on that. So Lee lets them know that he is willing to fire someone in the middle of a charter. So for people to not be relying oh, you're going to need me. You won't fire me. I can do whatever I want. He's like, no. I'm not scared of firing nobody. So be great. And it's true. I want them to do well. I like giving good guest experiences. I find working in hospitality pretty much my entire adult life, you feel really bad, or I feel really bad anyways, if I don't really give a great customer experience. That's what I like about the job. I don't like doing all the finicky things. And I also don't like being asked a lot of oh, can I get this? Oh, can I get that? Oh, can I get this? Oh, can I get that? So anticipating what people will need so they don't ask me and then I don't get annoyed that's the key to being great at hospitality, is anticipating their needs. And they do talk about that a little bit in Below Deck as being a stew. It's you want to bring out what they need before they ask you, because if you keep on running around for what they are asking you, you're going to just be chicken with your head cut off, all frazzled, discombobulated, and you're never really going to be on top of things. So if you in this case, this episode, realize that they're going to want espresso martinis. That should have been in their preference sheets, that just keep them flowing, these espresso martinis. That should be something that they should know, just to have them ready-made and to go. Because in general, espresso martinis do take longer to make because you have to do the coffee portion of it. You can't just shake and go. So making 8 espresso martinis is more time-consuming of a beverage. But if they were kind of aware that they're going to be needing to do that, they could have started even making the espresso or have espresso ready to go, because it doesn't need to be fresh. It's going to be shaken on ice. And they could have had just maybe a bunch of espresso pre-made sitting in the fridge, just ready to be thrown in there when they had to make these espresso martinis. I don't know, something I would have done, but hopefully they will figure things out. So Izzy... talks to Captain Lee about what? Oh, right. Okay, so Izzy is the one that it's a little bit too much information, and she talks in her confessional about how cute Captain Lee is, and he looks like the type of man that would just put you over their knee and spank you. So, I don't know if Captain Lee has a partner in real life, but I'm here to see Captain Lee flirting successfully, maybe with one of his crew. He's not the type that would do that, but I would love a little bit of a flirty moment. That would be kind of cute. Anything could happen, right? I don't know if it would be with Izzy, to be fair, but I'd like to see a little Captain Lee love affair. So again, Lee is talking to Francesca about her having tough shoes to fill with Kate. And right at that point, he shows her that the pants that were just pressed by, what's her name? By Elizabeth, weren't pressed properly. So like they didn't have like the line down the front seam. And it's kind of, it just doesn't look great when you're kind of learning how to take care of the captain, that even the pants that would be a simpler task wasn't even done to his liking. So she had to take these pants and bring them back to Elizabeth. I'm happy how she handled it though, because she could have said it in a way that made Elizabeth feel a little bit icky, but it seems as though Elizabeth knew that he wasn't going to, that she was trying to like slip something by him that she didn't think was of top-notch quality. So at least now she knows that she can't get away with doing a half-assed job. So who's this? Charlie. Oh, so the primary guest is going to be a guy named Charlie and his boyfriend Carlos. They've been there before. This is the third time that they've been taking care of this particular guest. And that's kind of why I didn't understand in their preference sheets why it didn't have like notes as to what this guest really likes. Even at the restaurants that I've worked recently, you know, you would have an option to put in information about each guest after you serve them, especially if they're a regular or a returning guest. You'd be like, oh, they love this bottle of wine. Oh, they had this, and this, and they enjoyed this. Oh, they didn't enjoy this. And so you kind of would take notes as to what was liked and enjoyable about previous guest interactions, so that the next person that serves them, they can see all these notes that are going on, and you can be like, oh, okay, I know not to suggest the blah, blah, blah because they won't like that. Or, oh, this is where you put any allergies or intolerances, et cetera, et cetera. So basically we were doing preference sheets, but we kept it updated. And I wish that they kept this updated, especially for, you know, I'm sure he's spending a couple $100,000 on these 4 days plus the tip. Maybe it would be nice to know that he likes espresso martinis, like keep them coming until he says stop. That's my thought. So I'm interested also to see, Rachel is an Ayurvedic chef. So she's been a private chef and she's been doing, you know, food that is a little bit more specific. So it's not like generically delicious 5-star level food, but she does vegan food and gluten-free and stuff like that. So with this particular primary, it seems as though they have a lot of preferences food-wise as to, you know, diet, gluten, non-gluten, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm happy that she's going to be able to bring in those elements, because I feel as though a lot of the chefs get stumped when they have to make vegetarian food. It's like, it's not that hard to make vegetarian food, but it's just not what their passion is. But I wish they would just hire people that were capable of these things. Like, why not? So already the primary wants to get these espresso martinis. And Francesca, as the chief stew, delegates to Izzy to start at least making the espresso. And so she seems to take forever. I don't know if it's because there wasn't enough water in it. I don't know why it took her so long to make these espressos, but like it doesn't take that amount of much time, and it also doesn't need to be perfect because you're just dumping them inside like an ice shaker. So I think that her inexperience with working in kitchens or restaurants or hospitality is already starting to show, and they've been on the boat for like 5 hours. Well, not 5 hours, but like 22 hours, I think, from when they got to the boat to when the primary was coming. So less than a day, but I feel like she should know this when she applied and got hired. That's just me. I mean, I wouldn't have hired her if I were doing the hiring. And, you know, she even asked Izzy to make breakfast for Captain Lee, and that as well took forever. Like, I think it just was cereal and a coffee, and it took a long time. Even just watching the snippets, it took long time. So I can imagine in real life, she must have been like, what the F? Like, why are you so slow? And she comments, she's like a snail. Like, do snails have hands? It was kind of, I thought it was funny. She's just so slow. Like, get faster. So with those the guests though, Charlie seems to be lenient. He says to what's her name? I forgot her name already. I need to get, Francesca. So she says to Francesca a little bit later on that, like, you know, today's a trial day just to get into the flow of them being the charter guest. But like, you know, your guests should not be saying that. But they just want some espresso martinis. make some friggin' espresso martinis. It doesn't take that long. They're their only priority. I know when I used to bartend, espresso martinis may be annoying if I'm slammed busy because like the coffee machine was all the way at the other end of the bar. But they don't even have to like do their own measurements and like, I forgot whatever the word is to like tamper, you know, the coffee grinds and like, you don't have to do any of that and like set the machine and come back for it. Like they don't have to do that. It was pods. I don't know, it was like an espresso machine. Like that doesn't take a long time. Do, I don't know, 4 double espressos in 1 cup and go upstairs. Like it just didn't take that long, but she didn't seem to get it. And Izzy, it's just watching her do stuff. It's just not fun. I would be having a fit if I was her chief stew. So I don't know how I'd feel about this. How do you guys feel about somebody unpacking all your luggage? So they kind of were like, yeah, we left our luggage downstairs because someone's going to unpack those for us. And I guess I wouldn't mind unpacking for somebody else, but I don't know if I would just be like, here, just go and unpack all my things. I think it's, I don't know, it seems a little bit personal, but you do what you got to do, I guess. So Izzy's slowly making, I don't know, one. So, okay, no, Izzy brings up the espressos and Francesca's up there just like, okay, you stay here and continue to do this. You need to make whatever. And Francesca's going to go and do whatever she needs to be doing. And Izzy just starts taking forever. And you can see the charter guests being like pouring their empty champagne glasses, being like, where's my drinks? Like, don't they know that we're here? Like, come on, let's keep this going. Flow, flow, flow. Which is like, you need to be on top of it, at least at the beginning of this charter, like have it flowing. And so Francesca, while she was waiting for Izzy to get these espressos, she actually like gave them all champagne just to tide them over. I like the fact that they had Veuve Clicquot. I was like, yes, my favorite champezies. So Izzy gets there. Francesca leaves. Izzy's taking forever to make these espresso martinis. The primary comes in and is saying to Izzy, like, no, I'll do it. Let me do it. Let me do it. And she's like kind of letting him do it. And you're like, I'm like, Izzy, no, just be like, no, sit down. I'm coming. I'll be really fast. And it just was not like, she doesn't seem to get that it's really, really bad for the charter guests to be even offering to make drinks because you're taking too long. And they also needed to have some sunscreen. So I personally would have just like bustled through and made those cocktails and then got the sunscreen. I wouldn't be like, okay, primary, my boss, like you make your drinks for yourself and I'm going to go and get the sunscreen. No. But she feels like this is an okay decision to make. So she goes inside, or she's inside, but she goes towards wherever the sunscreen is. And she tells Francesca, like, yeah, like the primary is like making drinks right now. So obviously Francesca is freaking out. She goes over to the primary. She's like, no. I got this. I'll do this. I got this. And she needs to like really start kissing some butt because it's a very bad start in my opinion for the season and for this charter guest experience. No bueno. So the primary says to Francesca, and this is what I was kind of pre-quoting before, was like, let's call today a learning curve and let's call tomorrow getting it right. And gives her like a kiss on the cheek. I'm like, that's not good. That is not good at all. And even all the guests, they were saying like, yeah, this crew needs to step it up. It's been a couple hours on the boat and you can't make these charter guests happy. Like getting people drinks is the easiest way to buy yourself some time. So like get drinks in hand, get them, you know, liquored up really quickly. And then you'll have a second to breathe. You have to like, you can't be behind from the beginning or else you're just going to be screwed, especially with these very demanding guests. So when Izzy brings the captain his lunch, the captain asks Izzy, so how are things going? And Izzy says, it's going, but she's a little bit overwhelmed. And you hear Captain Lee being like, oh, that's not good. That doesn't sound good. Like never tell the captain, unless something's wrong that you can't fix, that like you're overwhelmed or you can't handle what you're doing, unless it's something that he needs to step in to do. But you don't want to have anything to make him not have any confidence in you. Like, what is she doing? So bad. So apparently a couple of those deckhands, one being, what's his name? What's the Brit's name? James. I think it was James and Avery, maybe. They're talking about the birthday girl from the guests. And they think she's very, very attractive. I don't remember what she looked like. They basically only showed a view of her lying on her stomach on a lawn chair and just like she was wearing like a thong bathing suit. And so they're just kind of showing her butt basically. So I couldn't tell what she actually looked like, but apparently it's a good view, I'd say. And they like older women. And so it seems that James also has been giving some eyes to Elizabeth. So I wonder how that's going to go further down the road. I think they alluded to it in the preview, but I think the preview of the season, that maybe her and Elizabeth were going to be kind of fighting over James. I'm here for it. So one thing though, okay, so maybe you can tell me this as well. I've never been a chef. I like making food. I like making food that tastes good, and I understand how food tastes good component wise. But Rachel, the chef, was saying how, you know, she really is thoughtful about how food is going to be perceived. So either from a visuals from a standpoint, from the scent of the food, the texture and the taste, like it's kind of like a puzzle that she's putting together. And I never really thought about it that way. So if any of you guys are chefs or home chefs or home master chefs, if you could let me know what your thoughts on are how you comprise a dish food-wise, that would be really enlightening. So basically Shane doesn't seem to know what he's doing, but he brought a supply of paper straws to exchange any of the plastic straws that were on the boat. I think that the bosun, Eddie, asked him to go in and help the girls in interior. And so that's kind of what he felt he needed to do. And you could see him even like one at a time, like cutting some of these straws in half to make them for, I guess, rock glasses or short glasses. And I'm like, that's like the least, like these people are drinking martinis and champagne right now. The straws are really low priority here on taking care of these guests. But they make lunch for the guests at around, I guess, 3 p.m. And the food looked really, really, really good. So I thought it was a really good start for Rachel. The primary and his guests seem to be very happy so far with the food. They kind of joke about the avocado sauce is going to be, it looked like it was going to be a face mask. Other than that, it seemed like they really enjoyed it. It was just like a big tray of lobster and then a tray of, I don't eat meat, but tray of beef, some sort of beef. And I think it was a salad as well. Anyways, it looked quite delicious, especially those lobsters looked yummy, yummy, yummy. And they enjoyed it, seemingly. Anyways, they didn't have any complaints about the food. So that's a good start. At least the food can make up for how poorly the interior has been doing with the drink service. So we cut to an image of Avery getting a phone call, and he gets news that his grandmother is really, really sick and may not be able to leave or to make it through the night. So he goes and talks to Captain Lee. Captain Lee is obviously very understanding. Family comes first, he says. And Avery was going to be leaving right away. And you see Eddie kind of upset, not for what he's going through. He's definitely very empathetic, but for the fact that Avery was probably the most knowledge and useful of the deckhands that he has. And so to be starting off this charter season with down one and your best one, he was looking a little bit nervous as to how things were going to move forward. I mean, I feel like they'll get another deckhand. I just don't know how soon that will be able to be, because we know that Corona is pending. So I don't know if they stopped or slowed down travel service yet. So he leaves, and that was pretty much it for the first episode. Yeah, then they shot a preview of the whole season, and it looks like it's going to be good. I'm definitely here for it. I'm definitely going to, I'll probably in a couple days, I might post episode 2 and then kind of get in the rhythm of doing the recap on Tuesdays, probably Tuesdays between 2 and 4 p.m. I'm trying to avoid the setting sun because it's really bad at a certain time. So I'm trying to figure out what time that happens now and then plan around it. So it might be a little bit earlier, it might be a little bit later, depending on the sun and my schedule. So let me know in the comments what you think about Below Deck Med Season 8 opening episode, premiere. Are you guys big fans of Below Deck Med? Who are your favorite characters? Who would you like to see back? If you know anybody that would be coming back as a deckhand, like who do you know? Any tea? Tell me it all. I know that Hannah from Below Deck Med had her baby. I don't remember the baby's name. I'll find out again for next week or a couple days from now. But yeah. I mean, I love this show and I haven't ever talked about it before. So I'll get in the rhythm of like how to talk about it. And hopefully you guys will start joining me in the chat room and we can have a discussion together. So if you haven't done so already, please do yourself a favor and me and just subscribe right over here. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers. I think we're at about 429. And if we can get to like 500 by the end of this week, like, oh, my heart would soar. That'd be so amazing. Or 1,000, like we can get to 1,000 too. That works for me as well. Please like this video. If you like talking about Below Deck Med, leave some comments just so I know what you're thinking about this season so far, or maybe seasons past, or if there's a specific season that I need to watch that I have not seen yet. I believe I've seen the last 2 or 3 of both Below Deck and Below Deck Med. And please also ring that bell so every time I have a new video going live or if I am premiering one, you will be notified. So you can join me in the comments and the chat room. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, talking about Below Deck Med. We will see you in a couple days talking about episode 2. Ciao.